Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and get this started. All right, first question. What can I do to get my upper body to increase along with my lower body? I am following one of your full body programs currently as I am not able to find time yet for conjugate. I have always had a massive lower body even when I don't work out and even following a balanced program. I cannot seem to get my upper body to increase at the same rate. I look very unbalanced and always get comments about my lower body in relation to my upper body. Well, first of all, I want to throw out there that there is a bias because of upper body bros as to what proper proportion even is. You may not be imbalanced. Okay, you may not be imbalanced. Now, if you come to me and tell me that you squat 425 pounds and have a 200 bench, then okay. But if it's a case of if you can only squat, say 100 pounds more than you bench, there is no way you are even remotely disproportionate. It's just that you need to do more upper body work. Maybe you just need more training time. And that's what people need to remember. Your lower body will get much, much, much proportionately stronger on balanced programming. So what do you do about it? Well, keep training your upper body. Train your upper body more. Add more volume. Okay. The problem you have with some full body programs is, of course, that there just isn't that much volume for the upper body because you run out of total training volume when stacking everything into one day. But I would look at it and say, okay, well, what are you doing for your upper body? If you're just doing the bench and rows and overhead press, well, okay, you might need a little bit more stuff. You might need to add some delt work. You might need to add some tricep work. You see where I'm going with this? There's more going on here. But usually one of the fastest ways to thicken your upper body up is to do a lot more rowing. Right, that'll thicken things up real quick. If you're doing plenty of pressing, start adding more tricep work. That will thicken things up. Because usually that's sometimes what gets neglected, right? We don't get quite enough total back work in, and back will add size to you quickly. Or when we're doing press dominant stuff where we're doing a lot of pressing, we may not be doing triceps. And well, quite frankly, a lot of guys, even though the triceps can be weak links in your pressing, the triceps themselves don't usually get maximum stimulation off of, say, benching or even overhead pressing. They can get a lot, but unless you're doing tremendous amounts of volume, the triceps, which again, biggest muscle in the arm, for example, still might not be reaching its ideal training volume. So adding some tricep work in, usually a really good idea. That's where I'd start. But overall, you need to find a way to get more volume in for your upper body if it's not growing fast enough. Okay? That doesn't mean you're imbalanced. Doesn't necessarily mean you're imbalanced. You might be imbalanced again compared to the gym bros who bench more than they squat, who don't really train their lower body. So sometimes that's where we get the idea of proportions, but it could just be a lack of upper body thickness. Probably without seeing you and what you look like and what you're talking about, you probably need more back work, more tricep work, stuff like that. All right, next question. What do you think of beginners and intermediates to advanced lifters that detrained to beginner levels doing a linear progression, adding 5 pounds to all the 5 basic big lifts every workout 3 times a week? I don't know that I would do all of them 3 times a week. You're going to deadlift 3 times a week? I hope you're kidding. You really think you're going to do 5 big movements? One of them is a deadlift 5 days a week? Yeah, best of luck with that. You won't do that for long. But as far as the other point, could you do some linear progression? Well, obviously. If you've detrained significantly, you obviously need a linear progression, right? That shouldn't even be in question. What else are you going to do? I mean, your only other option is to run some sort of conjugate program. But aren't you going to do linear progression on your assistance work, right? Even if you came back and you said, well, I'm a conjugate lifter and I didn't train for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, completely detrained, right? Even if you came right back into the conjugate method, you're still going to have linear progression on your assistance work. We do linear progression because we can do linear progression. Okay? And let me state that even more succinctly. Anytime you physically can do linear progression, you probably should. So yeah, obviously. I agree, yeah, you need to do linear progression if you've detrained for at least a few weeks. You might only get 3 weeks, you might only get 4 weeks. But as far as doing just 5 basic big lifts, no, not necessarily. It's not even what I always do with my guys who detrain. I've had clients who've come to me who didn't train for 6 weeks before we started. They had something happen. I had two of them. They got back to me for coaching after they had detrained. I've had two guys do that. We didn't necessarily put them on that. I put one of them on an upper lower. 4 day a week upper lower with linear progression. We just built him back up real quick. Did that for a month and then threw him into the conjugate method. Now, he had previously been a pretty strong guy. So you've got options. I don't necessarily say that it should be just those basic big five and not necessarily full body. And I wouldn't be deadlifting 3 days a week. Right? That's, again, kind of ludicrous. Why would you deadlift 3 days a week? What do you plan on getting out of that? I'm not saying there aren't guys who do it successfully, but this is not the scenario where you want to do that. And if you do, I don't know, you might just want to pull for singles. Just my opinion. All right, next question and last question of the week. I'm entering a fire academy for 5 months. It's 5 days a week. Every day will consist of mainly running, stairs, and HIIT with very little weightlifting. How can I minimize muscle loss and the work I have put in lifting weights? Should I try to lift weights on the weekend? Thanks. Well, you've got a couple options. Here's part of the question I would ask. Is it more important to you to maintain your lifts or to get your career going? Okay. You've got to put this in perspective. I'm going to tell you right now, if you have not built a very high amount of general physical preparedness, you're not going to feel like lifting the first couple of weeks. I can tell you right now, you're not going to be up to lifting. Okay? You're not going to be up to lifting if you're doing all that. What I would suggest is that you get your GPP way up. You got to get your general physical preparedness way up if you think you're going to lift weights at all while doing that. So, what do you do after that? And if you need to go lift on the weekends, lift on the weekends. But you better be ready to eat. You better be ready to eat. You're going to have to eat a lot of food. You need to get your sleep on point. What I'm going to say is it sounds like what they're going to have you do if that's basically, well, every day, 5 days a week, right? Doing all this conditioning stuff for 5 days a week. If you want to maintain your strength, you're going to have to get your lifestyle on point. Okay, I know if you're a younger guy going to a fire academy, you might be the sort of dude who likes to party. If you want to keep your muscle, you need to cut all that out. You're going to need to sleep good every single night. You're going to need to keep your stress on point. Any late nights with the guys are going to have to go. Because you're not going to keep your strength and muscle doing all that and trying to lift on the weekends if you're going to value those other things. So you're going to have to pick some compromises there, right? To make some compromises. It's doable. It's doable. But by that same token, I would look at a lot of that and go, okay, look at all the amount of GPP they have you doing. You're not going to have to do maybe as much as you think you do on the training side. You could probably go in and just do your heavy lifts, right? You could do your big stuff, your heavy stuff. And I wouldn't spend a lot of time worried about volume. And the reason for that, you're running upstairs doing weighted carries, HIIT, climbing up ladders. You know, in terms of training volume, the volume is already there. It's there with your other 5 days a week. Get in and hit your heavy stuff on the weekends. Get your life sorted, get everything in order. That's what I would do. If it was me personally, that's what I would recommend. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.